Shut the fuck up when I'm talking, you stupid anime bitch.
Ever see the stars at night and know there's someone out there seeing the same thing, saying the same thing? Somehow reflections never seem to really compare, but when I'm with you, it all becomes clear. We are something in common, and I'm so glad I found you, so glad I found you. Oh, now I know for sure that you're my destiny. I've never seen you before. When you walk through that door, you're familiar. You're familiar. I only just got a taste. Shot me right up to space. You're familiar. You're familiar. Familiar. You're familiar. Yeah, 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 yeah. When you find what we have, better hold on tight to it, 'cause it may not come around again. Don't sleep through it. I know already what this love's gonna be. I just can't wait until you finally get the chance to see. And I'm so glad I found you, so glad I found you. Oh, now I know for sure that you're my destiny. I've never seen you before. When you walk through that door, you're familiar. You're familiar. I only just got a taste. Shot me right up to space. You're familiar. You're familiar. Familiar. You're familiar.
Welcome in, chat. We got fun stuff planned. By the way, it's the end of the song, so I got here just in time. All right, so you're probably wondering, well, Necro, what's today's stream going to be? Well, I'm glad to announce that it's going to be the stupidest thing we've ever covered so far. And by the stupidest, I mean we get to cover something where it is a person that really love talking about their corporate buddies. That's pretty much it. So this is a Red Bard video, as you can see here. And from the little bit that I know about it, and I have seen of it, it is not a fun video. So we get to cover that today. So hello, SSJ4 Goku. By the way, welcome in. Oh man. So we gotta cover this today. This is it. Hopefully if the internet doesn't like shit out on me, we should be okay to stream. If it's dead, don't worry, it's not on your end, it's on my end. But again, long video time. So here, let's go ahead and start this wonderful Red Bard video.
You know, it's weird to think that in a large community of people whose hobby revolves around translation, that translation is nonetheless wildly misunderstood by a large number of those people, like, to the point where statements like, "I support translators and not localizers" have become, well, a thing.
Do you know why? So, translators translate something from the very basic Japanese, or whatever the context is. So we'll just use Japanese as the thing. Actually, let me put on my gamer glasses here, because this is going to be a hootin' hollering good time. So localizers don't do what translators do. Translators take the most, they take like the Japanese. Like, let's say that you're watching your favorite episode of Bleach. Sure, why not? I've been going off on tangents about Bleach lately. So, say you're watching Bleach, and there's some jokes in there. I doubt it, but there's some jokes in there where it's completely Japanese, but they translate it, and they keep the Japanese translation with it just perfect. Now, the localizers, what they do is they take the translations and they make it understandable for we'll just say for our instance, they make it understandable for the English speaking audience. That's what localizers do. So if there's a joke and it's like, oh man, I ate so much rice that I gained an extra 103 kilograms or something like that, then the localizer's like, man, I ate so much that I could feed a small village or something like that, or I gained like 10 pounds. They would say something like that. That's what localizers do. So it's not misunderstood by people. It's spot on accurate.
In general. Oh my god, and yet here we are. When asked about what he thinks is the biggest misconception surrounding translation, localization, and censorship, professional translator John Hooper told me that the whole process is just a simple conversion of language A to language B. There's far more involved than just that.
Yeah, it's called localization.
And as though they were reading each other's minds, which is to say that, and because this problem is in fact that prominent, several other translators told me pretty much the same thing, that there's a lot of people who just don't understand that translation isn't some simple machine process.
It is. I mean, if you know the language, sure. If you know the language, it's whatever is in Japanese gets translated to English. Localization is the art of making it essentially for you, so you get it. That's what this is.
In the words of an anonymous ADR director that I spoke to,
and it was probably from Funimation,
language isn't Legos, and there isn't a one-to-one fit.
Yeah, that's true. Some words that we use very often, more times than not, there's not really a way to translate that to Japanese. So if you want to say, yo, that's lit, they don't have anything that's like lit, probably. It's like, it's amazing. So that's why like sugoi can always mean something else in the English language, because we have so many words for it.
And that's where this video comes in. I want to help you understand what translation, localization, and censorship actually are, and perhaps more importantly, what they aren't.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you did notice the Tsubasa and Maria thing in the background. That's why it's here.
Let me and some industry professionals
tell
you all about it.
Because we're all stupid. According to Redbard, we're doing it wrong. But they over there, they're fucking killing it, dude. Why is this going on for so long?
For this video's research, alongside reading and watching lots of material about this subject, I reached out to several professionals in the Japanese to English translation industry.
That's not really hard to do in her position. Redbard she was supposed to be the special guest appearance at Anime Expo this last year. But as you all might remember, there's a little thing that started back in, last year, around the same time. And, and it happened. Also, I do see you guys coming in. Thank you, Shiro Luffy. Thank you, Raven of Knights. Welcome to the dissection of something. This is going to be a video for next year. So when I get back, I'm going to obviously be doing a lot more research, but I feel like this is well worth the watch on stream and then, you know, produce content.
Not all of them wanted to be named, but rest assured the names and or tags of those who didn't want to be kept anonymous are in the description, and I encourage you to thank them all, not only for helping me out with this video, but also for doing the work that they do, because, as you're about to find out, translation can often be an underappreciated and sometimes even thankless job.
You mean like every job? There's some things that people do where they don't get thanked every single moment of the day. But I mean, I'm just being an asshole.
Anyways, I asked everyone a bunch of questions about their experiences in the translation industry, about their views on translation and the discourse around it, all sorts of stuff.
Discourse around it? There's not really discourse. It's just make it not fucking stupid. Is this a thing?
Like that. And it's thanks to their insights that I think I've been able to write what I'm hoping will be a good video to show to people who don't quite understand what translation is.
You know, she sounds like the female mother's basement. That's who Red Bard is to me. Is that a correct assumption?
Which, you know, is a dressed up way of saying, oh my god, I'm begging you, watch this video, and ideally the ones on the end card too, before you make a complaint about translation again. Oh my god, I am so tired of this discourse happening every other week. So with all...
That's funny, dude.
That being said, let's go ahead and begin at the beginning, or more specifically, let's begin at where the heart of where most of the misunderstandings surrounding translation are.
Why is this music here? Okay, well, she didn't read it out for you, but don't worry. Big Papa NECRO is going to read it for you. The L word. Localization. For me... Wait, what? Localization. Okay. In the Red Bard video, this is the thing you get. For me, all translation is going to include a healthy dollop localization because you're not just aiming for equivalency. You're trying to connect text culturally, linguistically, and ultimately make a readable, easy to understand, accessible text that someone can enjoy. Anonymous. Now, the definition here, sorry, over here, you can't see it on this left side, but language localization is the process of adapting a product's translation to a specific country or region. It is the second phase of a larger process of product translation and cultural adaptation to account for differences in distinct markets, a process known as internationalization and localization. So, localization, as you see here, because we're not as stupid as Red Bard thinks that we are. Localization is the second phase of the larger process of product translation and cultural adaptation, you know, to do all this other stuff. But the localization, language localization, is the process of adapting a product's translation. You get it translated first, you get the localization afterwards. That's it. There you go. I just helped you understand this, but not as stupid.
I don't think there is a single word that strikes fear in the hearts of Japanese media fans quite as effectively as localization. What a fun and often completely misunderstood word that is.
What weebs think localization is, if you're a real cishet patriarch, then you'll cash me outside Walmart, Kevin. What localization actually is, if you're a real man, kitty cat, then you accept. This is such a cherry-picked fucking argument. This is a cherry-picked picture here. No one thinks this. Now, this top part happens. the thing that you guys see right here, this happens. Maybe not to such an extent about cash me outside, but it has happened. What the fuck?
So, what is it, and why does it matter? And more importantly, what's its relationship to translation? The dictionary definition of localization is simply the process of making something local in character or restricting it to a particular place. And while that may sound like it's just a fancy way of saying that it means to anglicize something, in practice, it's actually a lot more broad than that. If translation is trying to convert words from one language to another, then localization is converting the sentiment and ideas behind the words.
Okay, I don't think anyone's this stupid to not get this part. Are we all pretty much in agreement here that we know what this is? So, are we not understanding something?
It's a key step in any translation process, and not something restricted to, say, Funimation and Crunchyroll. Process and not something restricted behind the words. It's a key step in any translation process and not something restricted to, say, Funimation and Crunchyroll. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and say that one more time just because there's an alarming number of people who seem to think that localization is just something done to censor anime.
This is Strawman the video. No one thinks all localizations are bad. Are we really doing this right now?
Localization is a step in the translation process.
Yeah, we read that definition already. Thank you, Red Bard.
Officially sourced translations will do it, and so will unofficial sources like fansubbers. If it's translated, then it's almost certainly been localized to at least some degree.
No. If it's translated, it's translated. You didn't miss anything other than Red Bard thinks we're all stupid and can't read definitions. Can I go back?
Translated, then it's almost certainly been localized to at least some degree.
What degree would that be?
And that's not a bad thing.
But okay, again, let me go back a little bit, because she just contradicted the first part of this video. I feel like. Am I missing it?
People who seem to think that localization is just something done to censor anime. Localization is a step in the translation process. Officially sourced translations will do it, and so will unofficial sources like fansubbers. If it's translated, then it's almost certainly been localized to at least some degree, and that's not a bad thing.
If it's translated, let us remember something here, because we had to pull this up because she thinks we're stupid again. Language localization is the process of adapting a product's translation. If it's translated, it is almost one for one. And the only reason it would not be is because some words don't exist in another language. So from Japanese to English, there may not be the same words. They may use something different. Whenever you hear Pika-Me talk on stream on youtube.com, whenever you hear Pika-Me talk, she'll always forget A's, or she'll forget the something, and she'll tell stories, but for the most part she has a cute broken English. Sure, we could make the assumption that most localizations and translations or the translations are somewhat localized. Yeah, if we wanted to paint it with a broad brush, sure, we could say that. But a translation, for the most part, is going to be as close to, if not exactly, what is in the original language. Localization, the second phase of a product translation and cultural adaptation. So when they say grams, they're probably going to tell you pounds.
Probably the most well-known example I could offer you of how a great localization can do wonders for something is the Yakuza series, whose spectacular localization is at the heart of a lot of its overseas success. It's not only a testament to how important good localization can be, but also about how localization and anglicizing aren't the same thing.
Why are we... What?
It's also good proof that comedy is generally where localization is at its most noticeable, and
Yeah, because you won't get something about a very Japanese thing if you don't live in Japan. Is this really a point?
this goes double for jokes based on puns and wordplay. Obviously, the humor of the pun, especially, is going to be lost if you don't localize it, so translators will often try to use the Japanese as a base to put in a similar joke that'll still be funny and understandable for an English-speaking audience.
And that's what we call localization.
And honestly, there's nobody better at coming up with puns than game translator Blick, who told me about this. The intent of jokes is to be funny, and laughter crosses language barriers. One example I've heard of is Nebeshin seeing a screening of the dub for Nerima Daikon Brothers. He complimented the ADR staff specifically for the fact that the audience laughed at the appropriate times. On the flip side, representatives from Kara were not pleased when the audience laughed at inappropriate times in a screening of the Evangelion 3.0 dub, which caused the movie to get completely redubbed for the home video release.
Okay, let's take this part since she wants to make some arguments, and because this person gave them both sides. Yeah, they did great on this one localization because the people, God bless them, they localized it, the jokes hit. You get to this one. On the flip side, representatives from Kara were not pleased when the audience laughed at inappropriate times in a screening of the Evangelion 3.0 dub, which caused the movie to get redubbed for the home video release. Do you know who did the dub for Evangelion 3.0? I'm going to go ahead and let you guess, and I'm going to let you assume that your guess is correct, because they're also known for ruining other localizations.
Anyways, I'm telling you all of this because I think it's really important to understand that localization is the translation element that allows anything to be translated. And
Wait, what?
that includes that
Wait.
localization is the translation element that allows anything to be translated. To understand that localization is the translation element that allows anything to be translated.
Okay, I know you guys can't see me physically. One more time again?
To understand that localization is the translation element that allows anything to be translated.
God damn it. What point is this at? 5.5 minutes. One more time, chat.
To understand that localization is the translation element that allows anything to be translated.
Oh my god. Oh, all right. You know what? I'm not going to dwell on it too long. I've already been here for a million years. One more time so I can move on with the rest of this video, and maybe there's more context afterwards.
To understand that localization is the translation element that allows anything to be translated. And that includes words and phrases that don't really have a go-to English equivalent. And while words like honorifics and tsundere might be the first thing you think of when you hear this, you might be interested to hear that this
bits. Just don't hurt me.
Wait, that's my 1,000-bit cheer one? 1,000-bit cheer? Oh, thank you, Vagrant Noct, for the 1,000 bits. It says here, Necro, ease your suffering before your head pops like a grape. Dude. I don't even know anymore.
also includes a lot of words that seem as commonplace as hi, but that's a whole other can of linguistic worm.
Hi means more than yes.
That is correct. What's the problem here?
Why do we need 12, almost 13 minutes for this?
So then, if localization can be so important, then why does it freak so many people out? Why are there so many people so horrified by localization, even though it goes hand in hand with translation?
No, it doesn't.
To the point where they insist on supporting translators and not localizers. Well, in addition to the fact that obviously there's a lot of people who don't really have a firm grasp on what localization is and isn't, it's extremism. More specific—
No!
No, that's wrong. What? Go fucking back. Hang on a second.
A firm grasp on what localization is and isn't. It's extremism. More
Extremism?
specifically, it's for kids, an entertainment company that dubbed several anime in the 90s and early 2000s, which includes, but obviously isn't limited to, a lot of the most popular anime from the time. But despite the fact that they haven't been relevant in about a decade, that doesn't stop people from constantly bringing them up in debates about translation, no doubt because of how unforgettable a lot of their creative choices were.
You look kind of down, Ash. Huh? Have a donut. That always cheers me up. Pika pika.
I like how, by the way, she went to Kiss Anime to get this clip. Also, we're cherry picking arguments here.
These donuts are great. Jelly-filled are my favorite. Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut.
But what a lot of people don't realize—
Do you know that people, whenever we bring up localization in translation, we really don't bring up 4Kids? Do you notice that no one besides the very, very small minority of people in their small little bubble bring up 4Kids? For the most part, I can look to, we bring up Funimation. Funimation, every time they do a localization, what was it, that Love is War anime? They put in that whole thing with social distancing. Like, why the social distancing? That's gonna fucking age poorly. Let's say that doesn't become, like, that's not a thing, like, in 2 years. They're gonna be like, wow, remember when this was a sign of the times? Then they're no better than 4Kids.
Is that we remember 4Kids so clearly for the same reason that we shouldn't consider them a typical example of what localization looks like.
What does localization look like then?
Because they're an extreme case.
You know, okay. All right. Huddle up, chat. We got to talk really quick. She believes 4Kids is the extreme case. All right, I'll play ball. Let's assume that this is the extreme case where they modify out guns and replace them with whatever the fuck this is, right? So, fine. This is the extreme case. What about the Dragon Maid dub? Does that one get the same treatment? Is that also extreme, or are we not going to bring that up? I hope it gets brought up in this video somewhere.
They're an outlier. In fact, I think they would only loosely qualify as localization since the primary goal of 4Kids' work was never to preserve the original, it was to make it palatable to a young American audience, which means conforming to the rules of American TV, which, in case you don't know, can be very strict in what is and isn't allowed if you want to maintain a certain rating. Case in point, you could remove scripts from the equation entirely and 4Kids still has things like this going on.
Does she know why they took the guns out? Because back then you couldn't just have a... If you're putting this on TV for kids, for their name, 4Kids. If you're putting this on TV for kids, you kind of probably shouldn't be pointing guns at children.
There's a nickname for dubs that completely alter their source material like this, and it's hack dubs. And in case it wasn't obvious, rather than fully localized dubs, the entire 4Kids library is just full of hack dubs. And sadly, there's a whole lot of people out there whose view of localization has been soured by these hack dubs, but you just gotta remember that they're not emblematic of what localization is.
No one... This is fucking trash. So she thinks that we all think that 4Kids is responsible for why we get bad localizations. Like, it's the extreme case. And we always point to that as being, oh, well, that's why y'all don't trust localizations. Is it... What?
Again, hack dubs aren't localization.
Yeah, they are. Just because you don't like them and you want to classify them as hack dubs doesn't mean that they weren't localized. Don't run away from this, you little forehead.
They're hacked ups.
No, they're localization.
Localization goes hand in hand with translation, and in fact, the two really shouldn't be separated since localization is equally as important.
Localization. You know what? Maybe that's what I need to do here. I need to have this be a whole separate picture. Because I feel like whenever she's bringing up how they're hand in hand, that's not necessarily true. Language localization is the process of adapting a product's translation to a specific country or region. Think about this. Yeah, even if you say it a million times, it doesn't become true. It goes hand in hand, sure, why not? But this right here, the definition makes this untrue.
Like I said earlier, it's what allows even the untranslatable to be translatable.
If 4 Kids is the extreme case, can we call this the extreme case? Because I get where she's going at with this. It's, well, you have to localize in some regard to get the word like hi. Instead of it meaning yes, it could mean confirm or I agree. Like something like that. Which I guess in her mind is localization, but that's not completely true either.
Self-proclaimed purists may argue that, necessary or not, any changes made from localization still make a translation less authentic than the Japanese, and that they'd opt for a literal translation instead, but, you know, I really don't think you know what you're asking for when you ask for a literal translation, because believe me, you may think that you want one, but I don't think you actually want one.
You want the thing, but maybe you don't want the thing. It's not like we're asking for our feet to be rubbed in a Siberian village. I promise that that's probably not what we're wanting. Oh boy, more reading by Sachibel. The word structure, characterization, the grammar, and the creative choices the author made simply can't be translated directly. You will not be getting the experience that the author wanted if you directly translate. Alright. Do you know that there are some... I can't bring it up on stream because all of them are pretty much not safe for work, so I can't bring them up. But there are some artists, if they can't have something be translated, by themselves because they don't know the language that good, they will have other people translate something for them. Now, notice I said they translate it for them. I can probably say this with all confidence. CT, our base Lord and Savior CT, I love him to bits. He has Commercial Justice. If you ever get to see Commercial Justice anywhere in English, it's because CT, he had someone else translate it directly. Who also lives in Indonesia. Is it not Indonesia, but in somewhere there. It's Indonesian, but Jakarta and whatnot. But he had someone that was there translate it to English. Translate it to English. There was a joke in there. He sent it over to me for proofreading, and I said, okay, yeah, I could take a look at it. I said, yeah, there's some grammatical errors here, here, and here, and then there was a joke. I can probably just say the joke. There's a joke where one of the main characters, she goes to a job interview, is what she thinks. And CT himself put in a joke about BuzzFeed. And he's like, I don't know if that one's going to land or not. And I said, no, I think that's still relevant enough that people would get a kick out of it. I didn't have to localize shit. He translated it, or he had someone else translate it. And he wanted to make sure that the joke that he put in there was exactly what he wanted. Obviously he would have changed the context, but it was his own thing. Yeah, it was trust me, if you guys get to read it, the BuzzFeed joke, it does hit. I love it. It's my favorite. It's good. It's good shit.
In the same way you
Oh,
can
boy.
hear someone but not be listening to them, so too can you translate something but not understand it. And that's pretty much exactly what a literal translation is.
Okay. I expect at least 2 examples. Maybe I'll get them. Maybe I'll get debunked.
Let's look at an example.
All
A
right.
few months after Google Translate launched in 2006, one optimistic journalist wrote, "One day, people will only need to know a single language for access to everything on the internet. A service like Google Translate is a great start to that end." The year is currently 2020, and YouTube videos where people put text through Google Translate a handful of times and then post the wacky results are pretty much their own subgenre.
What does this have to do with what we're talking about, though?
So how is it then that a service that prides itself in its accurate machine learning can mess up so badly and so frequently?
Because it's not built for actual translation. It's meant for the most basic, on-paper translation. That's it. If you go to anywhere on Twitter, you remember the one guy when the Yazaki stuff was popping off? I think it was when it was right around then. He used Google Translate, and he posted something in Japanese. And when you translate it through Google Translate, just by default, it will bring you the Google version of it. It will say, this is what was typed in, and here it is translated again. That's it. And he got found out pretty quick. Google Translate cannot be, it's not a replacement for a person. So you're exactly right. It's not a person. So you can't throw something into a machine. It's junk in, junk out. Because no language can perfectly be translated. But if you're a person reading what another person wrote, and not a machine, you'll understand it.
After all, shouldn't these accurate machine translations
They're not accurate. They never said it was accurate. What the hell is this fucking asshole?
epitomize what it means for a translation to be literal? Well, actually, that's the problem. That's why the quality of Google Translate continues to be so dubious, because it is making literal translations.
No, it's... Oh, holy shit. No, that's wrong. That's incorrect. Get it out of here, you little forehead. It's not a literal translation. Sure, you know what? Let's just take ourselves out of it for a second. Let's prove that this is a direct translation. Let's say that it is. This is a direct translation, okay? Let's go ahead and assume. We're going to run with the assumption that this is a legit direct translation. All of this stuff in French, put it over here. And let's read the English. Although this detail in no way touches the very substance of what we have to tell, it is perhaps not useless, if only to be exact in everything, to indicate here the noises and remarks which had run on his account when he arrived in the diocese. And I guess it's supposed to be this. Although this detail has no connection whatever with the real substance of what we are about to relate, it will not be superfluous, if merely for the sake of exactness in all points, to mention here the various rumors and remarks which had been in circulation about him from the very moment when he arrived in the diocese. So the direct translation here, again, computer learning, it's not a person, is going to translate this as best as it can. And it disregards certain grammatical rules to do so. It'll kind of just disregard sentence structure and all of this other stuff. That's kind of what this is. And because the detail has no connection, whatever, it's like the detail in no way touches the very substance of what we had to tell, the real substance of what we're about to relate. Those words are almost interchangeable. You could get away and say they're interchangeable.
That's to say, it's making translations that don't take into account things like context and characterization, and instead just looking for the most likely one-to-one equivalent.
That's what computer learning does.
And when certain words can't be found, well, they just leave them as is. And
Sure.
just so we're clear, this does not mean that a translation is literal just because you see some honorifics or a couple other Japanese words sprinkled around in there. Sometimes translators will leave them in, sometimes they won't. It's a really situational thing that can vary project by project, but we're getting off topic. That topic being...
How is that off topic, what you just said? Wait, how is the thing about localization off topic?
Japanese words sprinkled around in there. Sometimes translators will leave them in, sometimes they won't. It's a really situational thing that can vary project by project, but we're getting off topic.
That's not getting off topic. That's the most on-topic thing you could say. Why is this not being explored?
That topic being that when things are translated literally, finding the closest thing to a one-to-one word equivalent takes priority over things like subtext, emotion, characterization, or any other element that might have contributed to an author's choice of words, effectively just throwing all those elements out the window.
I was gonna go on a rant again. You know what, I might anyways. So, localization, no one's saying that localization is bad. Let's understand something here. No one is saying localization is bad. She's saying that localization is bad. Like, she's saying that people think that it's bad. But we don't. If something is localized good, guess what? I'm all in. I'm all in for the fucking ride. But no one's saying that they don't want localization. She's saying this.
Especially when it comes to fiction, word choice can be, and in fact often is, perhaps the most important vessel through which a story is told. If nothing else, it's definitely the one that people notice first and focus on more often. Case in point, the way you interpret a situation when you read that someone dashed versus someone ran, that someone smiled versus beamed. Context can generally help someone to...
So we replace it with another word. Sorry, you guys can't see it. But we replace it with another word. I might be able to, like, halfway get it. Right here. Yeah, I can kind of do that. All right. There we go. Oh, my God, dude. That's it. If you see beam right here, these are synonyms. If someone said, oh, their face twinkled, I would probably think, oh, smiled. Sure, you could make the argument for word choice, whatever, but that doesn't really help her argument. It's a different fucking word.
Decide between using words that are dynamic versus formal versus casual versus whatever else, but translating words literally just won't do that because literal translations, by their very nature, are devoid of things like context and characterization.
Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, if you watch the beginning of this video, where are we at? 11:13? 11:13, right? Let's look at what she's responding to.
It's like, I support translators and not localizers have become, well, a thing.
Okay, watch.
I
right here. We ask it for translators, not localizers. LMAO. Support translators, not localizers. Because I don't care for Western anime companies twisting scripts because appropriation/societal rubbish is not what I pay for. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and blow your minds really quick. Do you see how these words are brought up here? You see how they are highlighted? They're bold? Well, that's because she went looking for them specifically, and when you can't make an argument, sometimes you have to cherry pick. And she forgot that this kind of disproves her entire point. Twisting scripts because appropriation/societal rubbish is not what I pay for. Dub's also rubbing the wrong way. But that's just in my opinion. If I want to support anime, I'll buy official DVDs, figurines, and merch. Again, this one comment from right here before and maybe even afterwards shits on her entire video because he doesn't want to pay for localizers to fuck with his shit. That's what he means.
Subscriber alert!
Thank you, Mr. Diet Cola, for the... God damn it, I put it down there. Feels bad, man. Thank you for the tier 1 at 4 months. You're on a 2-month streak, bro. Very nice. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with this. Is that she thinks these people do not like localization. Which is not true. She's being the extreme case to say this.
Lack of context is frequently going to end up being especially crucial because Japanese is a language that relies pretty heavily on context. In short, literal translations leave you with only words and not necessarily the ideas behind the words. At best, they'll leave you with a really awkward and dry sentence, but even that's pretty optimistic. There's a lot of irony at work when people claim that they prefer so-called literal translations because they feel it preserves the author's intent, because these are the translations that actually bleach out authorial intent the most.
No one would have been upset with the other one. The very literal translation. This island gives off an aura of uneasiness and my body shrivels up, especially down there. What was the one before that?
And because
It was this island gives me the willies and makes my willy want to curl up and hide. So the literal translation is better? Question mark? This one is the better one. So is she making a point or no?
translations that actually bleach out authorial intent the most. Obviously, jokes and puns and such are where this is the most obvious, but you don't even need to use them as examples to get this point across, since even regular sentences just sound like a mess when you use literal wording, to say nothing of the fact that they don't.
I like how she clicked on this before just to make sure. Character voice. Look at all these highlighted words that she had to look for.
Tell you anything about who's saying them and why, which can elevate some scenes and characters tremendously. There's a fantastic example of this
Why does she keep bringing up the Sarah Moon lady?
in Sarah Moon's The Case for Localization video.
Oh wait, so we're doing the other thing. We're doing the AndyTuber thing, where we have to bring up other people's arguments in videos, but because we can't do it on our own. Is that what I'm getting?
And I'm gonna leave this video on the end card and a link to it in the description, because
I don't care. I don't fucking care what Sarah Moon has to say. I don't care. Sorry, I came to Red Bard because I want to see Red Bard's conversation about it, not Sarah Moon's. Fuck off.
I would definitely recommend giving the full video a watch.
Shut the fuck up when I'm talking, you stupid anime bitch.
Anyways, in the meantime, here's Sarah's example of this in action.
Holy shit. So are we taking the video?
ああ、いいな。セーラー V ちゃんなんてさ、テストも関係ないし、悪者退治なんてスカッとしそうだし。それに比べて私は。
Oh boy, this is gonna be
あ
tough.
あ、いいな。セーラー V ちゃんなんてさ、テストも関係ないし、悪者退治なんてスカッとしそうだし。それに比べて私は。
The chair
Oh, holy shit. What in the world did I watch? So, again, this isn't really proving her point. People don't hate... Oh, man. You know what? That's it. This video is going to have a literal straw man Claire. We're gonna get a scarecrow Claire, because that's pretty much it. And we're gonna talk about, yeah, both of these localization and the translation both work because they say the exact same thing. I would have gotten the same amount. Actually, I did. I got the same amount of context out of the first one that I did the second one. So this still doesn't fucking matter.
Cherry on top of the you don't actually want a literal translation sundae is that even if a translator and their editor decided to just say screw it and use a literal translation anyways, they still might not be able to because the medium they're translating in just might not let one fit. Different mediums of translation come with their own challenges that'll often require translators, editors, and ADR directors to get a little bit creative, you know? In manga, for example, you have a very finite space for fitting the words, and dubbing requires syllables and mouth flaps to be matched. Just to make sure we're clear though, this doesn't mean that mediums that have less limitations like subbed anime and even visual novels to a lesser extent are more likely to be more literal, because they're not. Spoiler alert, they're all fully localized too.
She works under the assumption that we're all fucking stupid and that we all hate localization. So when are we going to get to the censorship part of this? Because I really want to see her non-argument for that too.
And you know, this is all to say nothing of the fact that sometimes Japanese rights holders will make specific requests for how certain elements are treated. And while this is generally stuff like how characters' names get spelled or what the title is, it can still be anything. And since these rights holders, well, hold the rights, their requests are...
Why does she have 4 copies of Made in Abyss 7?
are treated like the word of God. So, in conclusion, not only are literal translations the weakest kind of translations, but also because they're intentionally devoid of localization, it can be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get them to even fit within the medium of whatever's being translated. In short, they're a bad idea on all fronts.
Why?
Okay, so at this point we've talked about translation and why you don't actually want literal ones.
No, I do want a literal one. At this point, she's actually shown me more that I want the literal translation over the localization. Because the localization just, I don't know, it hit kind of different, as the kids say.
We've talked about localization and how it's not actually as scary as most people think, meaning that, at long last, it's time to talk about...
You know who she sounds like? Anime America. Why does this video need to be 31 minutes? Because we're trying to make it look like we got something to say. Of course. Which means that you're going to see my video be like almost twice as long. It's not going to be like an hour. It's probably going to be like 2 hours. You're strapping for NECRO the movie. This right here's going to be it. Oh my god. Okay, so it says censorship and the agenda of the translation industry. Wai Chang says, people like to bring out their Dragon Maid memes nowadays, but one questionable line is hardly emblematic of the entire dub, let alone the translation and localization industry / process as a whole. So you're bringing this dude who is in the industry to tell you that because that one company fucked it up, that it's not a full representative. Sure, if we wanted to run with that. I'm not going to believe Wai Chang about this. I think that I don't care about what random person in the industry is going to tell me about the industry when I'm the one buying the product.
Overseas anime fans saw tons of blatant censorship in anime back when hack dubs were at their peak in the 90s and early 2000s. This includes, but obviously isn't limited to, one of the most ridiculous instances of LGBTQIA+ erasure in television history.
Oh boy, is this why we brought up this example?
How'd you guys meet then?
We're cousins. We grew up together.
Huh?
We've been inseparable since we were born. We can almost read each other's minds.
Like best friends?
They seem to be
What?
very good friends.
But in the
Oh, we did that because we wanted to make the meme, of course.
post-4Kids world where hack dubs are exponentially more rare and companies generally worry less, if at all, about conforming to TV rating rules, the nature of what censorship can look like in translated media, but anime especially, has changed a lot. Specifically, we're going to talk about censorship as it relates to translated scripts, visual censors, or...
Yeah, the visual censors are also stupid. Now, here's the thing. And we could go on for days. We did a video about censorship already, and it was with that god-awful High Rule Bard, not Red Bard, but High Rule Bard, where essentially me and him are on the same page. Censorship is fucking terrible. You should not censor something that doesn't need to be censored. There's nothing. If you're gonna bring up localization as not being bad, and you want to promote this to all your friends, then you shouldn't be trying to bring up why this is a good idea. Hopefully this isn't what she's going to say. I'd like to stay optimistic.
Or content changes are...
Fire Emblem Fates removes the petting minigame in the West. Hey, are we going to bring up the Crunchyroll one? I hope that's the next slide.
a whole other can of worms.
Oh, we didn't bring that up. Maybe it's because she gets Crunchyroll money. Let's find out. Oh man, look it. We had to tag it and everything. Oh, look it. It's impossible to live as a Crunchyroll translator. I'm not gonna watch that, but thank you.
But anyways, for a lot of people, the turning point for the next era of censorship in anime was Funimation's Prison School dub. Specifically, it was an instance where Gamergate was referenced.
Now, if you and I both know, NECRO XIII, that guy, for some reason, he still exists, but he made a video called Funimation Loves Social Justice. I wouldn't say I denounced the video because I think that video fucking slaps. I just think that that's not kind of the content I want to make. But holy shit. Wai Chang gets blown the fuck out right here in this clip. Because people bring out the fucking Dragon Maid dub, then we can bring this up too.
Whoa, pump the brakes, Arthur Fonzarelli.
That's a localization, by the way.
Have you got a stick up your ass? Or are you one of those dumbass Gamergate creep shows?
Yeah, not a lot of people were big fans of this, and they claimed that Funimation was needlessly injecting politics into their translations.
And they would be right. They would be right to think this, because that's what happened.
The controversial line was eventually removed in later releases, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people forgave them for this.
Of course not. Why would I forgive them? Listen, if you're paying money to something and they're fucking it up, don't pay them the money.
Have you got a stick up your ass? Or is that your pathetic attempt at talking to an older girl?
In fact, it actually had the opposite effect. Moments like it and Dragon Maid's infamous patriarchy scene seem to be at the root of a school of thought that started to emerge that this is censorship that's meant to promote a left-leaning political agenda, and that it's an industry-wide problem that happens fairly often.
No one says that. I think that if anything, we think that it is something that only happens specifically at Funimation. So, I would, listen, I would love to call it censorship, but I wouldn't even call it that. I would just call it localization. You want to localize something? Give me the localization. Don't do this shit. I wouldn't care if they said, I would not even care if they said, oh, well, you know, those MAGA hats, they really weren't happy with me, had to change. Or, man, the Yang Gang, they weren't too happy with the way I was dressing. I would find it insufferable on both ends. I would think that both of those, no matter if it's left-leaning or right-leaning, I would say, that's fucking cringe. Get it out. I don't pay you money for this. I don't support product for you to fuck it up.
Or at the very least, that it's a problem within Funimation, who, in fairness, is one of the largest influences within the Western anime industry.
Wow, why is that?
What are you wearing that for? Oh, those pesky patriarchal societal demands were getting on my nerves, so I changed clothes.
If we're...
Yeah, that's not what happened. Yang Gang. Yang Gang was gonna give me $1,000 a month. He got cucked, dude.
We're gonna be totally honest here. Not all, but the overwhelming majority of these criticisms and accusations are made in bad faith.
How? Wait, what? No fucking way I had heard that. What?
If we're gonna be totally honest here, not all, but the overwhelming majority of these criticisms and accusations are made in bad faith, as evidenced by the fact that they're almost always made anytime woke language makes its way into a translation.
No, it would be anything. Bad faith implies faith. It's in fact a thing. I would say, because that's what this is right here. I hope y'all find this video helpful. TBH, I'm just really tired of the same old, those SJW Puritan localizers are ruining anime nonsense. Again, let me be very, very clear. If it were more right-leaning, I would still find it abhorrent. If it's left-leaning, it's just as abhorrent as the right-leaning shit. I don't want any of it in there. If it does not exist in the Japanese version, then goddamn it, take it out. Don't put it in.
Example A. Apparently, the word misogyny is too political for anime.
Because that's not what was said. Again, to say nothing of the dubbing process, it fits perfectly. It fits perfectly fine in the scene's context. No, it doesn't. Because misogynistic really wasn't a thing. Let's be real here. Look, in the original Japanese script, Mikan states that Rito's demands are so old-fashioned. Who the fuck thought misogynistic was gonna work here?
Example B. The Somnium Files got a ton of backlash because a lot of people thought that this compliment toward the LGBTQIA+ community must have been shoehorned into the game by its localization team.
Alright, we cherry-picked some comments. Okay.
Plot twist, this was also in the Japanese version.
LGBT の人って感性が豊かでセンスがあって。
Okay, so because wait, hang on a second. Because one person, okay, we found one person, one like, okay, no one agrees.
Must have been shoehorned into.
Does it have a hidden agenda? This is in the forums. That's my question. Just found out about the game on Sankaku. Looks interesting, but the article also mentions a hidden LGBTQ scene. Promoting them all as the best thing since sliced bread. Is this fluent in the game or just a one-off? They weren't even shitting on it. They just didn't know. So...
the game by its localization.
Glad I didn't buy the game. Sorry. Glad I didn't buy the game. I heard there... That's the wrong there. Was some changes here and there. Now, I'm probably never going to buy it. Don't like pandering politics or politics in games, period. Okay, so... He's not even saying that it's like, oh, well, the Japanese doesn't do this. Where the fuck did that come from? Because look, he never says, oh, is some changes here and there, right? Probably never going to buy it. I don't like pandering politics or politics in games, period. He outright does not like politics in games. But she then says...
Team. Plot twist, this was also in the Japanese version.
He never said anything against it in the Japanese. He just said, I don't like them in my games, period. So again, leaps of logic, I guess.
才能のある人がたくさんいるでしょ。それに人よりも苦労してるせいか、共感能力が高くて優しい人が多いような気もする。自分の生き方を自分で決めてるから、強い芯みたいなものも持ってるように感じるし、その意味ではむしろリスペクトしてるっていうか、なんかちょっとかっこいいなって。
Yeah, generally all of these bad faith criticisms,
the ones that we can't disprove,
absolutely crumble in the face of their scene's context or even just a proper understanding of things like translation and the dubbing process, which, as I mentioned earlier, requires mouth flaps to be matched. In fact, if you want to learn more about this issue as it relates to dubbing...
Oh my god, we gotta go to the cartoon cipher. Are English dubs censoring anime? Yeah, I don't watch other people's content to see your argument.
Anime specifically, I would highly recommend the Cartoon Ciphers Are English Dub Censoring Anime video, which, you guessed it, I'll leave on the end card and in the description.
I don't want to see... Is this hard to believe? I don't want to see other people's opinions about something when I go to your channel? You guys don't come to NECRO 13 to hear about what, I don't know, Demolition D thinks about lollies or some shit. I don't fucking know. You guys don't go there for that. You go there to see, oh man, what's NECRO's fucking hot take today?
In any case, yeah, the House in Fata Morgana, Beaufry.
Okay, wait, let's go through these again.
On the end card and in the description. In any case, yeah, the House in Fata...
The House in Fata Morgana Western localization changed tsundere for fragile male ego. Yeah, that's pretty much the thing that you shouldn't be changing. But of course, we already know where this came from, because it has Billy attached to it, which means it was from one angry gamer. By the way, that website doesn't exist anymore.
Morgana, both.
Funimation edits joke to remove light sexual humor in Beaufry. I don't want to get hurt, so I'll max out my defense. Edits joke to remove light sexual humor.
To love.
Sentai Filmworks changes dialogue to explicitly reference misogyny in dub of To Love Ru, the thing we just saw. Same example.
These are only a few of the many instances of...
This was probably the very last line finalized for the script. We agonized over it for so long. 1. This tweet has gained quite a bit of traction over the last couple days, and that's brought with it some confusion as to the reason behind our decision to translate this line as we did. Explaining will require spoiling Fata Morgana somewhat, so keep that in mind as you read. Alright, well, this is a Tumblr post that I don't care to read, so skip.
Bad faith accusation.
By the way, these people are some of the translators. They're the localization people. These are the localization people, just by the way. Man, some people still think that the Bofuri dub cut a lewd joke, even though the scene in question is effectively the same as the Japanese one. It had no lascivious. Listen, I'm tired. Content even in the original Japanese dub. It's nuts how manufactured outrage / disinformation can have such lasting impact. I hope patting yourself on the back helped out, Steiner.
Accusations that crumble with...
I wanted to put this out there because I know folks are mad at me, and honestly, I hate making anyone mad, but there's some difficulties in dubbing you may not be aware of that can affect choices, such as syllable count, animation mouth flaps, and rhythm. You know, they pander to a bunch of people, but it doesn't look like it really helps.
When you learn about things like context and the translation and dubbing process. So at this point you may be wondering, okay, so if bad faith criticism makes up the overwhelming majority of...
No, bad faith criticisms don't make up the majority. We only brought up 3 people, and they were all from different places, and they were mostly hidden. And of course those 3 people are the entire group of the people?
Censorship and agenda-pushing claims, then, well, what about the ones that aren't? What about things like the Gamergate line, the patriarchy line, or even Netflix Evangelion?
Yeah, what about that one that we only just now brought up?
Well, while different translators obviously have differing opinions on some of the more specifics of these examples...
Wait, there were a lot of differing thoughts and opinions on the patriarchy line specifically. Some thought it was fine. Others weren't big fans. Many thought the line was changed in Dragon Maid's DVD/Blu-ray release. It wasn't. If you're gonna market me something, it better be exactly like what you marketed. That's my stand on it.
For the most part, the translation industry aren't big fans of these examples either. In fact, as though to prove that, 2 of the 3 examples that I just mentioned saw later revisions. Prison School, of course, I already touched on earlier, and Netflix Evangelion, or at least sort of. The "You're worthy of my grace" line was quietly changed to affection in the subtitles a couple of months ago. The dub still says grace, but it's nonetheless hard to imagine that this change was made for any other reason than the backlash that this line, more than the rest of the series, received.
Now, let me think about this really quick. Anime classic Neon Genesis Evangelion is finally on Netflix, so why are some fans upset? Okay. Let's look at something here. Let's look at who was upset. The people that were upset over this. They, if we wanted to look at it from, all sides of it, people that have seen Evangelion before, and they were like, man, I guess I'll check out the Netflix one. And then they saw that they fucking changed the line. They'd be like, what the fuck? Why'd they change that? It doesn't say that in the original. I guess I'll just say, man, they changed this line. Kind of not cool. I guess I'll just go back to watching the original one. That's probably all that happened. There were other people that saw the change, and they were like, oh, this is gay erasure. As you already saw in the... Here, let me go back. As you saw in the part right here, Netflix's retranslation of Neon Genesis Evangelion is drawing backlash for queer erasure. Can you take a friendship that's been coded as queer for 25 years and suddenly make it more ambiguous? It's because you pandered. I'm sorry, that's the only word I can really use for it. Netflix's Evangelion translation hurts a classic gay romance. Again, the people that are upset about this are the ones you pandered to. Here's Get in the Robot. a person, Queer Erasure and Ava, how Netflix got Evangelion's dub wrong. But I thought we were the vocal minority. Or maybe we're the bad faith majority of people. I don't even fucking know anymore.
I'll direct you toward getting the Robots Queer Erasure and Eva video if you want to learn more about that.
Sure, why not?
Again,
we have to look at other people's videos to get... You brought it up already, Pineapple. 32 minutes. This is like 31 minutes and 57 seconds. We can't fit something in there instead of rehashing the same bullshit. We're almost fucking done.
The end card and in the description. But anyways, back to my main point. Almost every translator, editor, and ADR director that I spoke to was quick to point out that even if they wanted to use their work to promote an agenda, between the eyes of their editors, actors, directors, and the fans, it'd be extremely hard for them to get away with it, and that's to say nothing of the tremendous risk they'd be putting their career at.
If you're in a clubhouse... If you're in the clubhouse that is known as Funimation, you know what, hang on. Here's another rant. You want another rant? Here we go. Vic Mignogna did a thing, right? Everyone, they talked about it for fucking ever. Vic Mignogna, the case could have went, it went one of those two ways. But the two ways that it could have went, essentially, from back when we saw it, was, okay, he's guilty. That means we have Sex Pest in our voicing, our dubbing, and localization, whatever, our company. We gotta find out who it is, because we don't know who's gonna try to do something to another person, right? And then, what if he wins the case? Because if he loses, that's what happens. If he wins, then you have to worry about who the snakes in the grass are at your workplace. Because one of the ADR directors... and even the people that have commented on it, Jamie Markey, if we go back and look at the track record, were responsible for some of those line changes. Not all of them, just some of them. Most notably, the Dragon Maid one. Now, if you didn't do it, don't go on Twitter saying that you did do it. Or try to hint or make a joke about you doing it. Because then that draws eyes to you. But Vic's case was the most important. And I said this, I might have said it in my video, I can't even remember. But I remember saying something to the effect of, no matter who wins or loses, the Western dubbing anime industry is as fucked as it can be. Because you don't know who's doing what. You don't know what's being controlled. And since now that Vic has pretty much been, rid of, except by Viz Media. For the most part, Viz Media still worked with him because he was on JoJo. Still worked with him, remember? Because he did Rohan Kishibe from JoJo. So they have Funimation that does your dubbing, and Viz Media that does your dubbing for the most part, and then Sentai Filmworks, fine. Funimation, they were quick to get rid of him. That's the Clubhouse mentality. I think if you go to Glassdoor, I might have checked this at one point when making a video. If you go to Glassdoor, some of the reviews of that place where people were working said, if you don't know people, you're not going to have a good time. You won't get anywhere if you don't know people in there and if you don't suck up. I would make that my argument, but that's a little bit far away from this. But again, it is a Clubhouse mentality. So when they say, well, they don't want to put their jobs at risk, well, what are they really risking? Because they're still technically doing their job. They can't change it too much. Obviously they'll get shit canned. But they can't just blatantly put it in there. Then they would actually get fired. But if you localize it, then maybe you can get away with a little bit more.
And all for what? To change the wording slightly in a single scene? To quote Nathaniel Hiroshi Thrasher,
oh, to quote a person that isn't you.
To realistically promote an agenda, you need the story to support it on a thematic level.
What was the thematic level of Dragon Maid?
Otherwise, it's just a bumper sticker, and literally nobody has ever had their mind changed by a bumper sticker.
Then why do people have their minds changed by literally anything?
Whether it's coming from a business or a fan-subbing group, a translation is an interpretation of the original language. And
She really loves thumbing through this book, not gonna lie.
by virtue of being an interpretation, even the best translations can never give you a 100% authentic experience the same way already knowing the original language can.
So what about the Japanese-speaking people that know what the differences that are made do? Because a lot of them speak out about it, but I guess we're not going to bring up that fucking, bad faith argument group.
And I know that sounds scary, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that when something is translated, there's always going to be room for interpretation, which is always going to put a bit of a disconnect between the versions in the original language and the translated language. This is also why different translators will hardly ever produce identical results. Things like their unconscious bias will come into play, which can only further muddy these already messy waters. So, to sum up this section of the video, I guess, the presence of censorship and agenda pushing in translation is a pretty nuanced issue because there's just never any two situations which are perfectly identical, and as we've already discussed, translation isn't some machine process where every word will always fit perfectly.
So a human translates an anime, or a manga, or a visual novel, and that can't be accurate at all. Remember, a person looks at that and translates it, which is why people in the beginning, in the straw man part, said they want to pay for translators, not localizers. The localizers have a bad habit of doing something that doesn't happen in the original. And even if it does happen in the original, you don't have to draw attention to it like an idiot, I guess. So the localizations that she brought up, which are the 3 that you can run with, Evangelion, you can run with, Dragon Maid, and Prison School. I know for a fact that all 3 of those are licensed through Funimation. At least the IP for Neon Genesis is. ADV lost the rights to that a long time ago. Funimation grabbed it up. And then I guess Netflix wanted to show it, and then they redubbed it. So even if we want to go with, okay, fine, 2 out of 3. So Funimation's the problem. Why are we not saying that Funimation needs to stop fucking it up? Why is it not fair to assume that Funimation's ruining localization and they're censoring things when they're the examples? They don't. There doesn't need to be a lot. There just needs to be an example.
It's messy, it's misunderstood, and nobody's gonna get it right every single time. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. Not all, but certainly most censorship and agenda-pushing accusations are made either in bad faith or just from a lack of understanding.
I really hope that she says something bad about Funimation.
And also, sometimes people are just looking for an excuse to dunk on Funimation.
Are we not supposed to? Are we not supposed to? We gotta defend Funimation's honor because they are the,
Obviously, I don't have time to sit here and pick apart every single case of these accusations being made, but...
Because you won't. You don't have the time. Literally 10 whole minutes left in the video.
But hopefully I've equipped you with enough knowledge to look at them more effectively when you encounter them.
God damn it.
So now that you hopefully have a much better understanding of
Yeah, I would sooner defend a thief before Funimation. Facts. If someone says, man, I stole like $100 from this guy, can I at least atone for it? I'd be like, you know what? You're doing the right thing. But if Funimation says, oh, we fucked up this Prison School dub, we won't do it again, I promise, I don't believe you. And guess what? Even if I did believe them, let's look. Dragon Maid came out after it, and they still fucked that up for some reason.
Translation, localization, and censorship, and what they actually are and aren't. Hopefully you'll bring that knowledge with you next time you see a questionable translation.
You mean localization? Again, Translation, a product's translation to a specific country or region.
As a reminder, it's always worth getting context before you judge whether or not a translation choice is particularly good or bad, but regardless of how you
So the Gamergate one had context?
feel about a translation, you should still never threaten or harass the translators, editors, or ADR directors over it. Not
Who did that? Or are we making that up?
only is this just pointless and aggressive, but frankly, translators generally have enough problems even without taking into account messages from angry people on the internet who probably haven't even familiarized themselves with the work that they're criticizing.
Oh boy, more reading from Andrew Steiner, the guy that we saw earlier, Mr. Steiner. Something I've been on for nearly a year is almost out, and the company still hasn't decided if I can say I worked on it or if I put it on my portfolio. Wow, I definitely can't speak now. It's disrespectful and seems fully engineered to prevent career advancement. Wait, translation industry things that that you should actually be complaining about. So I'm supposed to complain that Homeboy can't have his name put on something yet because the product's not done? Is this really the next segment? This has nothing to do with it. Skip.
While censorship and agenda pushing are definitely the most complained about aspects regarding the translation industry, they really shouldn't be. Not just because, well, as I've hopefully just taught you, it's generally just nonsense, but...
It's not nonsense. Speaking out about something that you're buying, listen, my dad now, he has his own problems, but my dad now, back in the day, I should say, when I was a kid growing up, this is a boomer story. Hope you're ready, chat. I would go somewhere. We'll just make up a place. Like I would go to like McDonald's or something, right? And let's say I ordered a Big Mac meal, right? And I asked for a Dr. Pepper, whatever, I don't know what they have there. A Dr. Pepper with no ice, right? And let's say I get my order. We're going through the drive-thru. I get my order. And I'm looking through it, and oh, wait, there's ice in my Dr. Pepper. And I asked for a large fry and not a small one. What the heck? I guess I'll just take it because I'm a stupid fucking kid. My dad would get mad, and he would stop and he would turn around and he would like, oh no, they messed up your order. You spent your money. Don't fucking let them just lowball you like that. He didn't say that. He just said, you spent your money. You get what you pay for. If I pay for a product and I expect it to be, let's just go ahead and knock out literal translation and then just make it a localization. If I pay for something and it is not what I enjoy, I have every right to have displeasure with it. So if I buy Cyberpunk and let's say I can't make my fucking character's dong of 35 feet. Well, then guess what? I'll probably be mad about it. I can probably go on Twitter and complain, but really what good is that going to do, right? You know, whatever. I could just send it to the dev team and be like, hey, I can't make my penis 35 inches. Can you please change it? Like, that's what I asked for. That's what I thought I was going to be buying is a game to make my dong bigger. What happened to the customer is always right? Well, it is until you're a gamer or you consume Japanese media. And then the companies tell you that you should just be fine with it. Which is why I am pro-consumer before I am ever pro-corporation.
Also because of the abysmal state of pay and credit.
That's not the people's fault. If these companies aren't paying these translators or these the localization team or whoever, if they're not paying them, that's not my fault. That's like if you go to a restaurant and you buy something. We could use McDonald's as an example. You buy McDonald's and their workers get paid $7.25. That's what I think the minimum wage is still over in like Tennessee. It's across the country for me, so I don't know what it is. But let's say that the minimum wage is $7.25, but I buy something and I'm supporting product. I am purchasing and consuming product. It's not my responsibility if the fucking worker doesn't show up. If he didn't press the right button that day, that's not my fault. This picture, my first translation work was with Amimaru. $300 flat for a manga that was 288 pages with appendices, notes from author, about $1.04 per page. Also, I never got paid. Also, had to finish it in 1 week. This is why contracts are very important when you're doing something that is commissioned work. If you're doing something that is going to be used for a commercial work, like if I work with CT and I'm like, hey, I'm going to sell thing, then guess what? He's going to charge me more. I pay him to receive that product. You know, I pay him what he is owed before, during, and maybe even after. You know, that's the thing. I have a video that I'm working on as well. It is for Critical Bliss. You guys may have heard of them. They have a bunch of games out right now on Steam. I think they might be somewhere else too, but I know for a fact they're on Steam. I spoke with Lude Logic, who is the man that runs the entire thing. Really nice guy. And I can't spoil too much of what we talked about, but he found out, because you can actually kind of look this up. He's put it out on his blog, so it's not like I'm not telling you something. But on the blog that he has, he explains that Laster K, who is one of the artists, dipped out completely. He is no longer around. He paid him all of the money to do the product first. He said, okay, we want you to be the artist. Here's the money for it. Laster K never returned after he paid all that money to him. And so he learned a lesson that day. Make everything in writing. You get half right up front. And if you opt out, then we can refund it or whatever it is. I don't know what the whole thing is. I don't know what's written there. And then you get the other half when it's complete. Or, you know, something very close to that. If, again, I'm the consumer. Whatever happens behind closed doors in this, behind the scenes, as Phil puts it, that's not my fault.
Within the industry, it is extremely difficult to make a livable wage solely off of translating Japanese media. In fact, by the standards of most US cities, it'd be downright impossible for all but a small number of them.
Where do you live, Red Bard? If the answer's LA, you don't have a leg to stand on.
The Canepa effect has...
Oh, great. Another person's video I'm not gonna watch. Skip!
Crunchyroll, who, while they're certainly not alone in hardly paying their translators, are nonetheless by far the biggest offenders of this, with their standard pay being $80 per episode.
Do you know how much $80 gets you in San Francisco? The answer is not far.
This isn't only an obviously low number in general, but it's also nowhere near proportional to the amount of time and effort that generally goes into a single episode, which can range from a few hours to a whole day. And remember, a lot of these are simulcast subs, so these translators are on a super tight deadline all the while. I'll leave a link to this video on the end card and in the description, because I would definitely recommend giving this one a watch. It's extremely informative, and frankly, with Crunchyroll setting themselves up to be the largest name in anime exclusive streaming, it's especially important for them to be leading by example.
They should just not exist. Exclusivity is fucking stupid. I shouldn't have to go to a million different services to watch what I want to watch. And even if I do, it better be a good product. Fuck Crunchyroll.
That being said, just to clarify, Crunchyroll is not the only company that's known for not paying their translators very much. Even Sentai, Funimation, Netflix, God, pretty much any streaming service that you can think of, none of them are known for paying their translators particularly well.
And again, this is not the fault of the people. This is the fault of the industry. If the industry doesn't like it, they need to fix it. Unionize, I don't know. Something. I can't tell them what to do. They're the ones working there. I can't go into fucking Burger King and tell you how to do your job if I don't fucking know it.
It's just that Crunchyroll here is a particularly appalling case. In fact, Canepa told me that in the aftermath of his video, which at the time of writing this has almost 500,000 views, translators have been sharing the video among their communities and prompted the sharing of even more information. In the future, more translators will apply for Crunchyroll while knowing that they're worth so much more.
By the way, Canepa Effect has me blocked on Twitter. Go figure, right?
But you know, I cannot talk about the low pay trend throughout the industry without also bringing up something huge that really hit the public's attention literally as I was wrapping up this script, and that's Amimaru.
Amimaru, translation, typesetting company. Amimaru issues statement regarding low pay rates. Yeah, again, if you are working for a company, that's up to the company to start figuring something out. Sue them or something. I don't fucking know. Hate how sites will have season 1 and 2 and then the rest of seasons are on other platforms. Yeah, that's what happened with I think they actually changed it to where on Funimation, actually, Funimation had the first season of Symphogear exclusively, and then what happened was you could kind of watch more stuff from Symphogear on YouTube, and then Crunchyroll stuck their grubby little hands in, put a regional restriction on it, so you have to live in Japan to see anything virtually that is Symphogear, except for, I think, like trailers. It is very strange, but they have the licensing to every season of Symphogear now. So when people say watch Symphogear, what they really mean is watch Symphogear, and the asterisk is on Crunchyroll. Sorry, fam, I'm not gonna do that.
More specifically, it's the fact that it was recently publicized that they've been paying their typesetters a rate of $1 per page. Yeah, $1 per page. And if that sounds ridiculous to you, good. It should sound like that because it is.
I like how we use GIFs, huh? Get it? Funny meme.
I don't want to dwell on this for too terribly long because
Don't want to dwell on this for too terribly long. 6 more minutes here.
really, if I wanted to, I could make an entirely separate video about Amimaru drama because believe me, there's plenty to say about it. But the short version of the story is that Amimaru is a business that employs people from all over the globe to translate manga.
Why does she have 2 of those? I don't know.
Notably, they've been known to be contracted by Kodansha, Futekia, and Manga Planet, among other companies. But Kodansha is nonetheless the main one that I want to draw your attention to since, as a reminder, it's one of the largest publishers in Japan. An anonymous Futekia employee emphasized to me that, 1, Amimaru generally isn't well liked, even within the industry.
Wait, reminder that Symphogear's popularity in the West is one of the thanks to piracy. It absolutely is. No one can convince me otherwise. They'll spend millions of dollars on remodeling their headquarters and then pay shit wages. That's the thing that fucks me up about it. And listen, I'm not saying that I have to be the leader of this charge, but there's only so much I can do. At my old job, story time again. At my old job, I remember I was complaining because this one manager, I'll never forget this as long as I live. This one manager was literally harassing workers. They were all new people. The manager himself was new. I had been at that job for, I think, maybe two or 3 years prior, 2.5 years prior. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is how you treat your employees. Like, you kind of just hang out with them. If you want something done, be nice to them. Like, we'll do whatever you say. Just fucking chill out and be nice. This dude was harassing everyone, myself included. He said that this one kid, this one black kid, he came in one day and apparently he smelled alcohol in his breath. I said, no, he didn't. This dude was here to work every single day on time. He was here early. He was doing his job and doing whatever it was down the line. I've heard nothing but good things. The people that were in charge of him were also good people. They harassed another woman because she was Asian. This guy actually went on to a rant about how he did not like Asian people. He did not like the Japs, so to speak. And he made a big presentation about it that he drew me into. And I said, that's how I know this dude's racist. But I went and I complained about this dude every single time he did something questionable like that, right? And this was when I was a part of a union. I think you guys can kind of put 2 and 2 together here. But I said, this dude is harassing people. You guys have to do something about him. Investigate him or something. And that didn't happen. And do you know why? Because it was only me saying something about it. The people that were out there, let me remind you, are all new people. They had just got there. They're wet behind the ears. They've only been there for no more than 2 weeks max. they don't know what's happening. They think that this is normal. They're afraid to speak up. They don't want to lose their job. I rolled in there almost every fucking week, maybe even every day. And I would complain. I said, hey, he's out here doing something fucking stupid. Can you stop it? Can you investigate him? Maybe we'll get around to it. They stopped taking what I said seriously. And that was pretty much the end of it. I transferred out of that area and I just let it be what it was. Now, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that the silver lining of this story, because I heard it one day, because I was doing something. I can't remember. I was in a whole different part of the area. And I come over, and the one guy that I had been talking to about it, he says, oh yeah, this guy, his name is Tom, by the way. This guy, Tom, he's no longer with the company. I think they forced him to step down. And I remember saying, and I kind of got irritated, but I remember saying, better late than never, I guess. I can only do so much as one person. If these people are not happy with the way that they're being paid at Crunchyroll or wherever, they need to speak up. Everyone needs to do it. I'll make that bet. I'll put out the video next goddamn week if I have to. If these people don't want to step up about how they're being paid $1 a page, I guess NECRO will. Whatever.
And 2, while Futekia, Manga Planet, and Kodansha have all contracted translation work from Amimaru, that doesn't make their freelancers employees of any of the aforementioned brands. Or more specifically, they couldn't be even if they wanted to, since Amimaru makes its freelancers sign either a non-solicitation or non-compete clause.
Do you know what those are, chat? It says, additionally, freelance project members are not allowed to identify which projects they worked on due to Animaru's non-disclosure agreements and are not credited in the released series. So you don't have to sign it, but if you want to work for them and get paid, your shitty little wage, you're gonna sign it. I mean, there's not like this. The non-solicitation shit doesn't really matter. But this right here, if you don't want to work for them, hey, that's fine. You can go to another manga typesetting job thing, and it'll be there at some other point.
Again, if this sounds ridiculous, it's because it is. Not least of all because while employees of Futekia, for example, can talk about their work and put it on their resume, Amimaru freelancers just can't do that.
Yeah, because they signed a non-disclosure agreement, and if they say anything about it, then they get fucking shit canned.
And that leads me to the next problem I want to discuss, and that's credit. More specifically, the occasional lack thereof. For bureaucratic reasons that uncoincidentally never seem to be spelled out plainly, it's not unheard of for some projects, such as Amimaru's, to just not credit their translators, which really strikes me as weird, because they're arguably the most important cog in the bringing Japanese media to other countries machine.
Well, again, they don't care and they don't have to, because if Amimaru, the company, says don't do this, you can't do this, then you sign the paper and that's what says goes. Now they don't have to sign it, but then you don't work for them. You can go somewhere else that has the license to it. And since Amimaru is a kind of like a company that goes out and does work for all these other companies, either you get in at those companies or you don't. You work for Amimaru, and then you can't say shit. So it's either the people and can get in, or you don't and you get shit canned. You make that $1 a page, you little forehead.
I've heard speculation on potential reasons why this happens, but in the absence of any hard evidence pointing to any of them, I don't want to dwell on any of these theories for too long.
Don't want to dwell on these for too long. Video's 26 minutes long.
The risk of detracting from the main point, which is that rules like this are already absurd enough on their own, but they're somehow even worse when the translators don't even know for sure why they're being implemented in the first place.
I'm not trying to say how good unions are, because they're kind of hit and miss, but at least get a fucking lawyer or something. They'll read through the contract and be like, no, we're not going to do that. If you have someone that has, the experience and can look through this, yeah, they can tell you how good a contract's going to be. Yeah, they are very hit and miss. Unions are very sketchy. So that's why I'm not like openly saying, man, they should get a union and that should be the end of it. It's, you have to have a good system in place to prevent this from happening.
Perhaps even weirder is the fact that there's even some projects that flat out don't let their translators talk about their involvement on social media or put it on their resume. Why won't they let them do this? Again, bureaucratic reasons that never seem to be explicitly spelled out.
Again, the company can put into their clause, you can't say anything about it, and if you don't care, then whatever.
And speaking of saying things plainly, I want to emphasize something real quick just to make sure we're on the same page here. While this is a problem we know exists within Amimaru, it's not a problem exclusive to Amimaru. It's just that, like the Crunchyroll example I just mentioned, Amimaru represents a particularly egregious case. While I unfortunately can't go into specifics to protect my sources, I can at least tell you that I spoke to plenty of people who've never done any work for Amimaru that have nonetheless encountered this exact same problem, but from other companies.
By the way, you see anime conventions? Boy, I miss those. So Green Taurus says, I'm assuming part of the non-disclosure is so that they get the job and they're stuck and can't do anything about it. Yeah, that's essentially that's what it reads to me. And because they're like, oh yeah, I really want to work on this. This is my, like, I can say that I do something. If they say, well, I worked at company to do this, and then they ask for like sources, you can't point to them because they don't, it's a part of the non-disclosure. The non-competitive agreement is that you can't look for other work, even if you say that you did a thing.
I wouldn't necessarily call this problem super prominent within the translation industry. Like, it's definitely not as prominent as the low pay trend, since for the most part that's an industry-wide problem. But the fact that this problem with credit exists just in general, and that it's not even like an isolated issue or something, you know, right off the bat, that's a problem. In any case, every single person I spoke to for this video got into the translation industry because they were interested in Japanese media. Every single one loves what they do, and some of them become some of the biggest fans of the projects they work on.
I mean, I've worked on projects myself, and I love everything that I work on, so that's kind of a non-point.
Could you imagine putting all those hours into translating a single project and then just not being able to see your name on it anywhere and also not being allowed to talk about it?
Yeah, that's why you don't do it.
Let alone put it on your resume? Yeah, if you think that sounds scummy and, in the words of Steiner, fully engineered to prevent career advancement, then congratulations! You're correct. As you can imagine, it's tricky for some translators to be in positions to talk about this issue, and between that and the vague at best reasons why it's even happening in the first place, it's hard to say what the remedy to this situation is.
It's get a contract, be knowledgeable. That's the fucking remedy to all of it. Again, it takes more than one person to speak up about something, chat. It takes more than Andrew Steiner, Hodgson, and all these other people. It takes more than one person. If you want to be the change that you want to be, you have to have more people on your side, and a lot of them won't do it. Fear of being blacklisted and, again, career advancement. A lot of them won't do it for you. If you kind of just disregard all of that and you stand up for what you believe in, you'll probably get somewhere. But until that happens, I guess they're going to be stuck at ground zero, not making shit.
That being said, I don't think it would hurt if people started vocally appreciating translators more and emphasizing that they'd like to hear them talk more about their work and getting credited for it.
Oh boy, another quote! It's a conclusion. There is no localization Illuminati. We just want to share what we enjoy with the world.
Usually that means they're a part of the Illuminati.
I'm a medievalist list, so I can tell you from experience that translation discourse spans back further than you can even imagine. And likewise, it'll probably continue to stick around in some form or fashion for the foreseeable future. Which is why I think it's especially important for us to have a good understanding of what translation, localization, and censorship really are and aren't.
We know what they are. We sat here for almost 2 hours. You see how long we sat here? That's how long this video would be. If I were to make this video tomorrow, that's what this video would be. And I don't have shit ready for it. This is fucking bullshit.
Translation is a much more fluid thing than a lot of people give it credit for. And by extension, the people whose job it is to make these translations often don't get the credit they deserve.
And that last part is because industry.
Literally, even, sometimes. I guess what I'm hoping you got out of this video was a better understanding of why translation is often a complex process, a better understanding of why translation things happen the way that they do sometimes, and perhaps most crucially, I really hope that this has given you a newfound appreciation for the people who translate Japanese media. Here's a quote from Noel S. I think it—
Oh my god. You're using a Symphogear fucking picture, dude.
really captures what I'm hoping what this video has taught you. Quote, translation isn't a one-to-one process. It's literally writing a whole new script.
No, it's not.
One that is based on, but still separate from, the original.
No, that's what localization is. God damn it. Did we not just remember any— Listen. Translation isn't a one-to-one process. It literally is. It literally is. It's literally writing a whole new script, one that's based on, but still separate from the original. No, that's what localization is. Adapting a product's translation to a specific country or region is the second phase of a larger process of product translation and cultural adaptation to account for differences in distinct markets. That's different.
On, but still separate from the original. You're consuming the ideas, not the words of someone else. And how those ideas get brought over is transferred through the lens of the translator, making them as important as the author.
Wow, it's like we're talking about two different fucking things here.
Whew, and on that note, I want to yet again thank everyone who helped me with this video.
I don't care. This is a fucking weird shill segment. I don't fucking care. Oh my god. Oh. Jesus fucking Christ. Well, chat. That was awful. I'm not watching the last part of this. I don't fucking care. This is just fucking stupid. God damn it. I hate every part of this video so far. Because there's so many things. Like, what are you supposed to do? Yeah, all this video did was make you hate these companies even more, which makes this video useless. What the fuck? Get out of here. But, I know. What a fun treat. Thank you, Red Bard, for your insight. God damn it. Well, I am pretty fucking tired. I would love to say that I had a good time with that video, but I just don't fucking care that much. I just don't fucking care.
I'm done. I'm done.
I'm out of here. But thanks for coming to the live stream. I don't know if there's anyone that I can really raid, but I know one thing though. I'm gonna go eat some pizza before I pass out this time. I had all I could really take from AniTubers today, but look out for that video next year when NECRO makes his triumphant return, dude. It's gonna be fun. I'm playing Mischief Makers. Well, I got someone that I can host. Wait, what? Wait, someone playing Mischief Makers. Whoops, I spelled mischief wrong. Don't listen to me. I don't even know what Mischief Makers is. and I don't think anyone's no one's playing it. So we go back to the original one. It's fine. Don't worry about it. But wait, what? Why did it censor? Okay, the auto mod censored N64GA. What? God damn it. Censorship. Censorship! Not in my fucking anime. But I'm gonna rate a good friend of mine. Give him some good follows. I don't know what the fuck happened. Listen, Twitch doesn't want me to have fun, dude. He doesn't want me to have too much fun. So don't worry about it. But my good friend, Mr. Big Gentleman, is playing Call of Duty Warzone. I'm not gonna play it with him. You might see me in there. You might not. I don't know. I gotta do like a couple of things. Yeah, first blind play and now this. I know, we're getting cut. Absolutely cut. But nothing I could do, dude. I did everything correct. But now I have to go to the bathroom and then also eat some pizza. But thank you for stopping by the live stream. Thank you, Diet Cola, Vagrant Noct, for the support today. I mean, everybody supports in their own way. But they gave a 1,000-bit cheer, and the tier went up for 4 months. And also, while I was offline, we had M. Caldwell, 240, for the follow. But I'm pretty much done here. Have fun watching Call of Duty gameplay, maybe. You can pretty much say whatever you want. He's a really responsive guy. He's wanting to do the screaming. I think he might be done. No way he's done. Well, I'll see. I'll see you. But see you guys later, I guess.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm never fucking delete it, man. Shut the fuck up when I'm talking, you stupid anime bitch.